Hi, and thank you for joining me for another video. And friends, today I want to speak to you about the concept behind the Noahide laws. And friends, the reason this video is so important is because no other concept has been as twisted and perverted as this notion. And not just historically, but even in our time. And unfortunately, this has actually been the biggest tool used to keep non-Jews from embracing the Almighty's only true belief system, which is Torah Judaism. And friends, I don't want you to think that today I'm in any way going to bash the Noahide laws, because I've never actually bashed them in any video. And I do believe in them as an integral part of the halachic process. In other words, they are the standard on which non-Jews were to be judged when the Sanhedrin stood. And that, my friends, from a halachic and even a theological Torah perspective, is all we are expected to believe regarding them. Now, I know, like virtually everything else in Judaism, there exists more than what we're actually required to believe. And you know what? That's fine. However, the problem arises when we can no longer distinguish opinion from fact or binding law, and actually go as far as to let those opinions affect us in areas where we are halachically expected to believe and behave in a certain manner. So, what are the Noahide laws? Actually, the proper term is the laws of the sons of Noah. The 7 laws that tradition and folklore teaches us was first given to Adam in the form of 6 laws, and then later topped off with 1 law given to Noah, making a total of 7 that at least from that time on, all of humanity was expected to keep. Now, the question you should all be asking is, are we required to believe how and to who were the 7 laws first given to? And friends, the answer is no, because the truth is that this part was actually all made up, like anything that does not derive from Torah Shebiktav, from the written law, and that's also fine. However, do we have to believe that the non-Jewish community is judged in Jewish courts on the basis of these 7 laws? Absolutely we do. And friends, this is nothing new. This is how Judaism works. In other words, there are things we're commanded to believe and do, and some things that we don't have to, but just happen to be there. Like anything metaphysical that's not biblical, or any narrative that does not appear in Torah, we don't have to believe it. It's not halachic. In other words, there is no doubt that there was some standard that the Almighty himself used to judge pre-Sinai humanity by. And friends, I can tell you that this is not how the silly mystics teach nowadays, that the whole Torah was given to Adam and secretly made its way through Abraham and on and on. And this is just another example of biblically inconsistent folklore. And even if it was consistent, because it's not halachic, it's an optional belief. Why? Because, like I said, that it's not mentioned in Torah and or contain any halachic value, which would also require at least obedience from a Torah standpoint under the mitzvah of Lo Tasor, under the mitzvah that appears in Parashat Shoftim, that we should not stray from the rulings of the court. But this is not rulings, this is folklore. So, like I was saying, that the Torah itself shows that the Almighty held humanity accountable for breaking certain commandments even before the Torah was given. So we see this, how he punishes Cain, how he punishes the generation of Noah, how he punishes Sodom and Amorah, and all the clear transgressions that the Almighty was not pleased with before the Torah was given. And this is where the court decided that there had to be a standard of morality that existed before the Torah was given. And thus they legislated using certain portions of Sefer Bereshit that were actually ethically, legally evident in the narrative, to legislate a system for judging all those who did not take upon themselves the Taryag Mitzvot, the 613 commandments. This, my friends, is actually clear and evident in the text. And everything that has to do with the 7 laws, whether it's assuring its adherents a share in some world to come, whether it's claiming that it was first given to Adam HaRishon and then to Noah, or even whether non-Jews should only aspire to remain Noahides, exists only in the realm of opinion. In other words, areas that your imagination is allowed and should roam free in, but not areas that we are expected to believe in from a Torah or even from a halachic perspective, which I would also include the new Noahide religion that has been developed by the mystics, built completely on Midrashim and Agadot nowadays, that I also don't have to tell you holds no water from a Torah or halachic Jewish perspective. In other words, our sages who conjured up these legends were individuals who had no prophecy or mystical insight, but were just trying to do their best to make these notions sensible to the people of their time. And what do I mean when I say that these notions carry no water? My friends, because Judaism is made up of 2 components: Torah and Halacha. And that's it. And if you then ask, Rabbi Asher, doesn't that sound a little bland? My friends, not at all. Actually, everything you need to fall in love with and to build a relationship with the Creator on is found only in the 5 books of Moses. And I promise you that you could spend a lifetime studying it and you will not be left empty. And Halacha are the mitzvot from the Torah translated in a practical manner by the great court that was established in the Torah itself to keep Israel progressing in a uniform manner. Also known as the Great Sanhedrin, who were also called our sages or Chazal, which are many of the names that appear in the Talmud. And friends, today I'm going to give you my perspective behind the Noahide laws, just as others throughout history gave you theirs. And of course, mine also exist in the realm of opinion, but I actually think they make more sense than the rest. So, the first place we see the Almighty judging humanity for sins not mentioned in Torah was with Cain, with the sin of murder. So the question is, how could a good God punish someone for something they didn't know was wrong? Right? And then he also judges Noah's generation and destroys them, minus Noah and his family. And we then see how he then judged and destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, and in which the Navi later tells us was done because of their cruelty. So how could he justifiably punish them if he did not first give them a moral standard to adhere to? And this is where the rabbis formulated the notion of the 7 laws of the sons of Noah. How? Because, friends, what has been called the Noahide laws is the basic sense of morality that every human is born with. The bare minimum that separates us from the animals. Because honestly, another problem with claiming that the Noahide laws were first given to Adam and then Noah is for one to assume that all of humanity at that time, or even just Adam or Noah, accepted it upon themselves, when the Torah never really states this. When even the Rambam states in Moreh Nevuchim, in the Guide for the Perplexed, that the revelation in Har Sinai was the only revelation ever given to humanity by the Creator. I mean, at least it said Na'aseh v'nishma. We know they accepted Torah. And as you know, the Torah does not state anything that Gentiles accepted any 7 laws. And, friends, the reason this understanding is so important is because it is the only way that free will could really commune with the notion of a just judge. In other words, it actually levels the playing field. For example, how can anyone get credit for choosing to live a moral life of Torah if he first wasn't born with some sort of ethical drive pushing him to choose, from at least a basic sense, what is right, and or even knowing the difference? In other words, someone could then say that I was just not religiously inclined, or they never told me what was right or wrong, or I wasn't raised in a Torah household and or was deprived of a yeshiva education. Pretty convincing argument if you think about it, if some basic sense of morality was not initially ingrained. However, if it was ingrained, then anyone could stand before a just God, because anyone, no matter their circumstance, initially had that desire to do what was right, to choose for themselves a better life, ultimately a life of Torah or something similar. Now, some, after a while, could blunt that ingrained ethical conscience and do what's wrong, but it was not because they didn't know any better. Then someone might say, why do we need Torah then? Why can't we just go by that basic sense of morality or a conscience? Well, friends, reading the whole book of Bereshit and half of Shemot should answer that question. Because although that basic sense is enough to get us going ethically, it is not enough to help us perfect ourselves and this world to the ideal state that we have the responsibility to bring it to. Which actually teaches the opposite of what many rabbis do today, that we all need Torah to further refine our lives, whether you're born of a Jewish mother or not. And I have to remind you on how each of us has the right, halachically, to theorize anything we like that does not contradict Torah or halacha, just like many of the early sages did. In other words, they used their imagination, and you can also. And if you think about it, this also answers a question why someone would come to religion in the first place. I mean, many would say that they just felt it was time to do the right thing, time for an ethical change. That, my friends, is the ethical component that the Almighty placed within you working, which is exactly what distinguished our father Abraham in the first place, when he also heard the voice of God from within, telling him to leave the place he was at and to go to the place where the Almighty wanted him to be. So my friends, today, if you feel something within you telling you that it's time to leave your life of sin behind, time to start a new journey to ethical heights that by only living a life of Torah you can achieve. I want to welcome you to embrace a life of Torah Judaism and become a Jew yourself through conversion. For more information on everything Jewish, please visit doordea.com or bejewish.org. Thank you.